Hey guys, this is Matt with Mix Coach here. Today I am going to be testing this little guy here. This is the Yamaha C7 virtual instrument from Acoustic Samples. I have heard good things about it, and I am a long-time Ivory 2 user, and I wanted to compare this C7 to the Ivory C7, and I also threw in Alicia's keys, the Neo C3, just to kind of compare sounds of modeling there. And I also threw in just the stock Pro Tools Mini Grand just to listen to what kind of difference it really makes when you have a highly detailed sampled instrument and then just a normal little basic kind of, couple velocity layer sampled piano. And without further ado, we'll just jump right in, and we'll jump between these. I have my solo cancel enabled, and we'll just kind of run through them in their basic settings here, and just take a listen to the how they captured the actual response of the sympathetic resonance, the pedal noise, key noise. Really listen for the details of the modeling in between all of them, and decide for yourself, not necessarily what sounds best, but what may suit your needs best, because no two C7s are going to sound the same. They're in different rooms, different mics, different piano technicians. The soundboard could have been set up differently. They've had different lives, they've been in different climates, so there's many pending factors, but C7s are notorious for having a very, very bright cut to them, especially in their low end. And one of the first things that jumped out to me on this particular model was the low end was actually a little bit darker, and the top end was bright but really smooth, and I really, really like it. But let's just take a listen here. Well, let's not get the classic Pro Tool error here, or let's get the classic Pro Tool error. As you can hear, it's got a really nice low cut to it, but it's still warmer and richer down there than most C7s. We'll listen to the same little clip here on the Ivory C7 and listen to how much brighter the bottom end is. As you can hear, there are some very stark differences in modeling wise. I really feel Acoustic Samples did really well capturing all the subtle nuances and details of the instrument, right up there with Ivory, and that that's a pretty tall order, because to me Ivory's some of the best samples that you'll find of a piano, and in comparison to something like Alicia's keys, I think Alicia's keys was very well modeled, and there's great detail in that piano as well. It's certainly a different flavor, being a much smaller piano, and then of course I just threw in the Mini Grand just to show you how big of a difference it is when you're going from the minor leagues to the big leagues. And I have some other examples here. Let's take a listen to something a little slower, and we'll do the same kind of exercise and just listen to the richness and the fullness, which is just very untypical of C7s. It's what I really like about this model. love it. If you notice, the Yamaha C3 on Alicia's keys is actually much closer to the C7. Has a much darker, fuller bottom end, which I personally like. Um, very, very similar. I'm just now really noticing that they're actually quite a bit more similar than I thought. There's still something about the ivory bottom end that just has such a beautiful cut to it, which is great for you know, classic country, certainly modern pop stuff. You know, it just totally depends on the situation. But I did find with a little bit of EQ on the bottom end, between 150 175 hertz, depending on what key you're in, if you cut a few dB out on the acoustic samples, you can bring some of that brightness out, and it can make actually a pretty stark difference. In fact, we'll check that out real quick. See what we got going on. Makes it much closer. Now we'll bounce between that and the ivory. So really, I found with the acoustic samples, you can get that real bright cut from the typical Yamaha C7 with just a little bit of EQ, which that I like. I don't like having to drastically EQ anything. And as far as feature set goes, this thing's been detailed very well with several different mic perspectives. Let's take a listen to that. We'll choose another example here. We'll move it on down. And I'll choose between the close mic, player's perspective, and the side mics. Well, sorry about this, guys. Computer's having a rough day, I guess. Now let's do the player perspective. And the side mics. And you can blend all three if you'd like. Very neat feature. And as far as I recall, I think I remember reading that they, from the samples, they tightened up the phase on them, so you wouldn't have to worry about any phase issues between the close player's perspective and side miking. And your typical MIDI stuff here that you can adjust to your liking. You can adjust with the tuning temperament on it, and then going back to the normal settings here, there's true pedal action, re-pedal, half pedal, a lot of control over release volume, pedal noise, key noise, pedal down resonance, sympathetic resonance. There's a few on here that you won't find in Ivory, and something I really feel Ivory's missing is the different mic positions, and that's another one up for this. Very, very, very awesome feature. And there's actually some great reverb algorithms that is included with this piano set. Again, you know, it's chock full of features, different miking perspectives, beautifully sampled. different flavor of a C7 if that's what you're looking for. And I highly recommend checking it out. And for the asking price, you can't go wrong. I think, if I remember right, it's like 129, which that'd be about how much it'd be just to buy the C7 from Ivory, and you have to buy it as a package anyways. So if you're looking for a C7 that's a little bit different than your typical C7, I highly recommend checking this one out. Beautifully sampled. So go check them out at Acoustic Samples. And until next time, guys, happy mixing.